Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been a little while, hasn't it? In this video, I am going to give you all the details you need. I'll be covering areas such as how to get started, what you need to sign up, how to sign up on Airbnb's platform, what kind of occupancy rates you can expect, what kind of earnings you can expect. So I am going to let you into my business a little bit, as well as little tips on what my suggestions are if you are going to get started and where the best places are to get started right now, and how you can get started without even owning your own property. So if you are interested in starting your Airbnb and you don't know where to start, you need some information, this is a video for you. And drum roll, after one full quarter of being on Airbnb, I have received my super host designation. So I think I do have some authority to speak on this subject or topic. Today's video was highly requested. A lot of persons have been jumping in my DMs asking me to do a very comprehensive video on how to get started on Airbnb, and it's really not that hard, but I promised you all that I would do a very detailed video with all the information you need to get started. And I'm a client to Airbnb currently. I'm waiting on the workman, which should have been here like 1 hour ago. Guys, food workmen are so hard to find in Jamaica. Lord help us. Anyways, and I have somewhere to be after, so I decided that this would be the perfect time to film this video to just kill the time, because otherwise it's probably gonna be another 1 month's wait, because I promised you guys this video probably over 2-3 weeks ago, based on when different persons are reaching out, and I'm finally using the time to sit down and do it. So here it is. Stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe if you found this or my other videos useful, and like and comment and share. So let's jump into it. So for persons who don't know, Airbnb is a platform that allows you to list your property and for guests to view your property and to book with you. So it's almost like a direct competitor to certain hotels. Obviously not the all-inclusive hotels, even though you can set up an all-inclusive Airbnb if you want. But for the purpose of this explanation, it's almost like setting up a hotel, but instead of the hotel being owned by some big chain of hoteliers, it's owned by you. It's something that the very layman can do. It doesn't require you to have much except to have a property. This place does not have to be owned by you. You can set up an Airbnb through arbitrage, and that is where you rent a property from the owner and subrent it on Airbnb to the guests. Obviously, you would get the owner to agree to you doing this, and then you'd also need to furnish it. And once you furnish it and it's up to a standard that you think you'd be comfortable staying there as a guest, then you can have it listed on Airbnb. In order to have it listed, you'll need to take some pictures. They require a minimum of 5, and you take basic pictures of the sleeping area, living, bathroom, kitchen. You know, the spaces that most persons want. And then you apply to have your property listed on Airbnb. Upload the pictures, and then they are gonna review it and get back to you within like a day. It happens really quickly. So you're going to type airbnb.com in your browser and then hit Airbnb your home in the right hand corner right there. Then it says ready to Airbnb. It's Airbnb setup. You're gonna hit that next button right there. And like I said, it's very easy. Here it's asking you for your country or region and to add your phone number, and you can continue using your socials there. So right now I'm just going to be putting in a fake number. I hope nobody really owns this number and gets this text message, and then hit continue. And after hitting continue, it takes you to this little screen where it's going to ask you for the code that is going to be sent to the telephone number that you inputted. So for the sake of being able to proceed, I just added a number that belongs to somebody in my house so that I'll be able to show you guys what happens next. So here you put in last name, birth date, email address, and then it takes you to the screen where it's showing you that in 3 easy steps your listing will be completed. Really easy. So let's pretend we're going through the process. I'm hitting getting started right here. Tell us about your place, and in this section it's just asking you to really state whether or not the place is a house, apartment, barn. You see them all right there. So I'm just going to select one and move forward. And right here I'm literally just selecting options randomly, because obviously I have my listing already, but you would be selecting the ones that best describes your listing. Here we have to enter the address of the listing, obviously, because people want to know where you're located so they'll know where they're staying. So I put in my address and it moved me forward to the screen here asking about the maximum number of guests you'll allow at your property, the number of bedrooms and bathrooms. Here it's saying make your listing stand out, and this is really where you're just gonna
put all the amenities you offer: Wi-Fi, TV, kitchen, all of that. If you don't have these things, then obviously you don't select them, you leave them blank, and then you move forward to the next screen. So now we're required to upload, as I said, a minimum of 5 photos. I'm using the photos I already have on my computer from our existing listings. And next, it's asking you to give your house a title. As you know, mine is Irie Getaway. I just have that weird name right there for the purpose of moving forward, and then create a description. Here is where you can put things to really capture people's attention. So you decide what you're gonna come up with. Then it's asking you to select the price. To move forward, you select whether you have security cameras, etc., which will relate to the guest safety. And then pretty much, you're just gonna set up a calendar in terms of whether you want to have weekend dates being more expensive than during the week dates, or if you want to block out certain dates, and then you hit complete. To actually complete it though, you're going to need to upload a copy of your government ID as well as a photo. I'm not going through all of that right now because I already have my listing, but this is where you put that information in. So it's not going to allow you to move forward unless you upload your ID, but once you do that, it's going to submit your listing for approval, and in about 24 hours you'll get a response. Then further down on the page is where you can finish setting up your listing, including turning instant book on and off, which I explain further later on, and setting up your calendar, blocking out dates if you want, and setting up your rules such as no smoking, etc. And yeah, that's it.
I know some persons were saying that this is a process that takes like a week from my experience, and for what I've done for my clients, we got approval within a day. So the hardest part is to obtain the property. For my property, I purchased it through a mortgage, and I was able to list it on Airbnb because my other home that I have now, I had built that from I was like 21, 22, yeah, I've always been into this property thing. So I had that home built from that time. That's my residence that I'm at now in St. Andrew. So when I acquired this other, and I didn't have a mortgage by the way for that property because it was built out of pocket by my mom and myself. It took us several years to do it, but we got it done. And that's where we reside. So when I got the opportunity to purchase this other property, given that I didn't use my NHT benefit, you guys should know about that. If you're a Jamaican and I didn't have a mortgage loan, it made it easier for me. And once I acquired the property, I made the decision that I was going to use it as an Airbnb. Initially, I figured that, you know, I would have gotten tired of living with my mom, and I would have just left that house to her as a gift to mom, and I would reside at this one. But for now, even though yes, I do get tired of her sometimes, it made more business sense to have that property used for investment purposes. After all, the other property that we built would be a little too big for just my mom right now, and my younger sisters have basically moved out. So it's just she and I, and it's too big for one person. So we're not gonna be wasting any square footage of property in this day and age because properties are priced possession to have now. So I decided to stay there and have my property listed on Airbnb. The first thing I did was to furnish it, and I have a video on my channel on what the best approach is in terms of furnishing for an Airbnb. Bear in mind that this is a property that a lot of persons are going to be coming in and out of. So even though you want to have quality things that can withstand the wear and tear of having different guests, you also don't want to be spending too much money, because if something does get damaged, you don't want to lose something that was super, super expensive and maybe an issue to get back. Mind you, your property is insured with Airbnb. So once you can prove that certain things were damaged, they're able to process a claim, but this is a process, and you may have some downtime waiting for that claim to be processed and to recoup the funds for your damaged goods. What I've also learned is that the cheaper the thing is, the quicker they are to, you know, respond and reimburse you. But for more expensive things, it's gonna take a while. They are going to want to see receipts and evidence of what the purchase price is or what the cost is to replace the item. So you might want to keep that in mind and keep your receipts for certain items. Cheaper things though, like I've submitted claims for glassware that was broken and damaged to the tune of like $50 or $25 US, and that was processed within 2 days. The money was sent back to my account without me even having to submit any proof of purchase or evidence. So we're past the stage now where you have acquired property, and I'm going to do a separate video on what the spin-offs are from getting into the Airbnb business, and a little more details on arbitrage, as well as other linked businesses to Airbnb that you can start once you get into this space. But I don't want this video to be too long, so that's going to be for another video and another time. In terms of the types of Airbnbs, so you have persons who offer their entire home, you have persons who offer part of their home where the guests can enter through their own private entrance. They get that part of the house to themselves, and you have persons who share like a kitchen and a living room and a bathroom, and they have a spare bedroom. So they offer the spare bedroom on Airbnb. You can do all of those. Airbnb allows you to do all of those. You just have to be very specific in your listing to let them know that this is the setup that you're coming into. Me personally, I wouldn't be sharing my living room and kitchen and bathroom with strangers. That's just me. They're actually really pushing that now. And the owner of Airbnb came out to say that, you know, that was really the premise that Airbnb was started on, for people to host people in their homes and share facilities. But I'm not too gung-ho on that. But obviously, if you're really, really interested in getting started in the Airbnb business, and you have your property and you have a spare bedroom and you want to list it, obviously, you'd probably be listing it cheaper than what an entire house would go for. But there absolutely are listings like that in Jamaica, and I can tell you that from what I've observed, they have been getting traction, they have been getting bookings, so it's not impossible. My only thing is to make sure that your house is in a place where it's not a volatile community, it's easy to access, and guests can feel safe. I realize that that's something that guests really pay attention to, and furthermore, you wouldn't want to be responsible for something bad happening to a guest because they live in an area where when they're coming in, man, I go drag on them and ask them, who are you? Where you come from? I've never seen your face around here before. So if you live in one of these communities, that's the only time I would discourage you from setting up this big thing for an Airbnb, because you probably won't be getting any guests, and I would want you to waste your money. But if you're in the country area, on a countryside, don't let anybody tell you nobody's coming to that country area, that countryside, because that's not true. I've seen Airbnbs in the grill where somebody is close to a beach. They have shacks, like literally shacks, wooden structures with just bed and kitchen and everything in one space, and they have so many bookings because I've looked at them and I've looked at their reviews, and apparently there are tourists that are attracted to this kind of thing. I've had guests stay at my Airbnb because they have things they wanted to do in Kingston, and then they checked out to go to an Airbnb that's out of town that they told me was up in some hill or bush in Moko. No, don't quote me on that, it probably wasn't Moko, but the way they describe it is what I would call Moko in my head. It can be done, and those kind of cabin and shack type Airbnbs actually appeal to certain people. I would love to have an Airbnb up in the mountains in Jamaica, somewhere close to probably a waterfall or a river or a stream, and to set up just a nice little cozy spot for them right there where I know they won't be disturbed by anybody. I would love that. So if you're watching this and have a piece of land in the country, your land or your granny land, but you know, they inherited it, and sitting there and not doing anything, I love to lease it from you so I can sublist an Airbnb. I'll come in and do my own building and everything. So if you have a little house in country, but like I say, it is accessible and it is safe, you can set it up on Airbnb. Nothing try, nothing done. Go ahead, list it. Once the price is right, you'd be surprised that you're getting bookings, because Jamaica is like a hot commodity now, and people are coming here for various reasons. There are people who are coming for business, there are people who are coming for pleasure, and big up to the Jamaican man then who have the proper fix, because I've been getting a lot of reservations from women who have come here to visit their boyfriends, and they come and they just slap down the boyfriend for, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 days until they're ready to go back home. So big up to y'all, because y'all keep my business going. Me personally can't manage the Jamaican man, but the fact that they love me and they keep the business going, to shout out to Ono. Don't be afraid to start, because you feel like you're somewhere that nobody not go and come. When I just started, persons are like, I feel like that house is too far and nobody's gonna come there for an Airbnb. And I'm like, but people live there though. It's a whole community that is populated, and it's in close enough proximity to places in Spanish Town that have a high population but is considered places that foreigners would want to stay at. So I have a lot of people who message me asking, oh, what is the proximity for your Airbnb to St. John's Lane or March Pen or whatever. And they're like, okay, I'm gonna come and stay by you because I have family there that I'm gonna visit. No, it works out perfectly for them because they're close enough to who they want to visit, but far enough where they're away from any chaos that may happen there. And that's what they want. So don't let anybody discourage you. Go for it. because people live everywhere and people visit people everywhere. Mind you, some people may have a higher traffic than you because of where they are. Like I've observed that people in Portmore tend to get more reservations than us here in Spanish Town, but we get them nonetheless, and we get a lot. But I do. So don't be afraid to try and to do it. Let's backtrack a little. You've created your profile. After you've gotten approval, they're gonna let you know that once you switch on that button there that says active listing, well, I don't think that's quite the words, but I'm gonna look for it and let you know. But once you switch that on, once you got an approval, then your property is live. In order for your property to be live, there are some things that you need to consider. A, you need to consider how are you gonna price your property. In order to price your property, what I did was I looked on all the other properties in my area and I looked at the amenities they offered. I compared what I was offering in terms of even the size house to what they were offering, and I also had to bear in mind how much I needed to make in order to break even. Now it's gonna be hard to determine that at first because you probably won't know what your light and your water is gonna come out to when somebody is at the property for a whole month. Bear in mind, you can't compare it to the light and the water that you use in your personal home because you're a little more mindful when you are in your house versus when you are at a hotel or an Airbnb. You know this too. When you go to a hotel, you don't care. You just turn on the AC and you run it the whole night and you take these long showers and bubble baths and you already paid for it, so you're not very mindful. So it's gonna be the same approach to persons coming in. So one of the things I tell persons is try to take a low cost approach when setting up your house. So as I said earlier, in terms of furniture, you don't want to be going too expensive. In terms of even the amenities you offer, if you're gonna get air conditioning, you want to get one of those inverter ones that should save on electricity. You want those kind of appliances even with your washing machine and dryer if you're gonna have any. I chose not to have one because I wanted to keep my price at the lower end because I realized there weren't many at that end of the spectrum in terms of pricing. Like in my living room, I don't have air conditioning, but there is air conditioning in the bedroom. When you're comparing prices of what your listing is gonna be per night with what the other listings are per night. That's how you list it. You can, if you want to, offer a discount for persons who book for the week, persons who book for the month. There is also a discount that Airbnb recommends for persons who are listing for the first time, where they offer the first 3 guests at 20% off. I highly suggest that you accept this discount because it helps them to push your property more. If you don't accept this, it's not one of those properties they're gonna push out there. But once you do a new listing, you want persons to become aware of your listing. You want them to be compelled to book. And truth be told, if there are no reviews, if your listing is new and there is nothing to compel somebody to book, they're probably gonna overlook it. No, if you're new, no reviews, but your price is on the lower side, they may be like, all right, let me take a chance because it's very cheap. So I would recommend that you absolutely go ahead with the discount offered for new listings and then use that as an opportunity to get in some guests and to get some reviews. And once you start to get in your reviews and guests, you can up your price to where it really needs to be. So back to being able to determine your price, I would suggest that you compare your listing with other listings in your area. You can't compare yourself to a Kingston unless you're saying, I know for a fact that I cannot book in that price if you're in St. Catherine. What you also need to bear in mind is that prices won't be the same right throughout the year. Like right now it's summer and we've been getting almost 100% occupancy rate since June. Prices per day are expected to be a little high because there are a lot of tourists coming here this time of the year. I know September and October will be probably slow season, so I'd say you have to drop your prices a little bit during that time, and then November and December, that is expected to be a peak season from what I've heard, so you can up your prices during that time. But it is important when you're setting up your listing that you determine what your price is going to be per day. I set my rate based on, like I said, what I've seen in the market. I try not to be the lowest. It's a mind game. If you're going to book a property and let's say you filter based on price, the one that's at the very end of the spectrum, it normally attracts certain type of people. I'm not sure you want to attract those people to your Airbnb. And nonetheless, for persons who are not those type of people that you do want to attract, you don't want them looking to say, oh, this is the lowest price. That means this property is at the bottom of the barrel. I don't want to be staying at a property that's at the bottom of the barrel. So I absolutely stay away from being the lowest price. I also don't want to be the highest price, obviously, because if they're filtering or they sort it based on price, they're going to be all the way at the other end of the spectrum, and they'll have to go to 900 properties to find your listing. But I do try to be on the cheaper side, but not the lowest. That's my strategy. It has worked for me so far. You are free to take any approach that you want. That's just my recommendation. Obviously, if you've gone all out, you have air conditioning right throughout, you have a washer dryer, you have a pool in the back, you have to price that in, or you're gonna be ending up giving away free nights, because those things are gonna run you up in terms of maintenance of the pool and electricity usage for the AC and the washer. So you can't compare yourself to somebody who doesn't offer that and try to compete with them in terms of price. They're gonna be doing okay, and you're gonna be taking an L. Oh, another cost that is very important for you to consider is the cleaning fee, and this can make or break your listing. Some persons are of the view that they should roll up the cleaning fee into the daily fee and then just charge that as the rate per day. I don't agree with it, because really and truly during somebody's tenure at your property, it's only going to be cleaned after they leave. So I don't believe in spreading out the cleaning fee across their whole stay. So what I do is charge a one-off cleaning fee per stay, not per night. You want to call around and find out what the cost is for cleaning Airbnbs. There are some persons who are going to be very expensive, and there are some persons who understand how Airbnbs work, so they're not going to be very costly. And you need to have a discussion with them to secure their services, to ensure that they'll be able to respond to your call. Come and clean after every guest checks out. Remember, guests can be checking out any day of the week. You don't have a lot of control over the days that they check out. You can set it up so that you have specific check-in days, but I don't have those limitations on my property. You can check in and check out on any day. And if you are doing that, you want to make sure that there's a cleaner to clean right as the guest checks out, because somebody could be checking in the very same day, unless you're able to do it yourself, which I do sometimes when the guests stay for a short period. It's more attractive for you to have a smaller amount for your cleaning fee for somebody who's only staying 1 and 2 nights. Now, if they're staying 1 and 2 nights, more than likely it won't be very dirty, and to get a cleaner to come in after somebody has stayed 1 and 2 nights and tell them, oh, the person stayed for a short period, so I don't want to charge them the full amount, they're probably not going to do that. Most cleaners, they are paid a fixed amount regardless of whether the person stayed a long time or a short time. But on Airbnb's platform, it is more attractive. As you can imagine, anybody would want to spend less. So it's more attractive to somebody when they realize that, oh, staying 1 or 2 nights here and I have just a small cleaning fee to pay, this is the property I'm going to be staying at. But for the longer stays, obviously it's gonna be more dirty. It absolutely will be, I'm telling you from experience. So it's gonna need a thorough cleaning. You can get the cleaners in to do that and charge that back to the guest. So like right now, what our cleaner charges to do a thorough cleaning after a guest has stayed for a long time. When you go on Airbnb to book the property, that is the amount that you're seeing as a cleaning fee. So it doesn't come out of our earnings at all, and our price per night stays fixed. The only additional cost is the cost for the cleaning. So it has been working for us. Like I said, some persons, their approach is, okay, if the cleaning is, let's say, $8,000, I am going to charge people $80 per night to include a portion of the cleaning fee and do a minimum stay of 3 nights. So I know that the $8,000 will be covered in the stay. It absolutely must stay 3 nights, so my cleaning fee will be covered. I don't want to limit myself like that. I allow people to book for 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights. I think that's why I've had the success that I have, because 1 night, 2 nights, and 3 nights will help to fill up the gaps between the long stays. You cannot predict that in a month you will have a perfect stay where this is going to come for 7 days starting the 1st of the month, and they're going to check out on the 7th of the month, and then they're going to have next guest checking in on the 7th, and they're going to stay for another 7 days, and then that's a perfect world, but that doesn't exist here. You may have a guest staying for 7 days, and based on when they checked in, they're going to be checking out on the 10th, and then the next guest that goes on and book from the 14th, and then you have those empty days in between. So remember, for every day lost, that's income lost. It is not like a product where, okay, if you didn't sell today, you can sell tomorrow. No, for each day out of the month that you're unbooked, you have lost income that cannot be recouped. So those 1 and 2 and 3 days help to fill in those gaps, because apparently people are coming to Jamaica every day who are just passing through for 1 or 2 or 3 days. For what reason, I don't know. I cannot say, but I've gotten a lot of those short-term stays. Outside of the daily rate and your cleaning fee, I don't charge any other fees. There are persons who charge other fees. We probably don't want to do that, because people are going to get turned off. But if you do have, for example, like a pool, and you know that it's much more expensive for bookings with the pool, you could separate that listing to say if you want access to the pool, there's an extra amount that you pay. If you don't want access to the pool and you just want a property, and I don't want my property to stay unbooked, I'm going to charge you less. So that additional fee is for access to the pool. That is something you can consider. When setting up your property on Airbnb, you are also going to be required to just give a description of the things you have in the house. So for example, if you have an iron board or a dryer or a closet where they can store their clothes, you are required to list those things, just so persons have an idea of what they're getting and I guess how to pack. If they book your Airbnb, to say, all right, this Airbnb doesn't have a dryer, I need to take my own. Those are the things you need to have in the back of your head. You see those basic things, you absolutely should have them, because everybody does in Jamaica has them. You have iron boards, you have irons, not everybody has a dryer. I don't have a dryer, I'm gonna get one though, it's just I can't really get the one that I want to put where I want to put it. And that's the other thing, you don't have to be perfect to start, because I don't have anybody complaining about not having a dryer there yet. You never know what you're gonna get with these guests, but you don't need to have those things in there to start, but you really need to establish what you want to offer. And they're gonna have different sections there for you to put information in on your listing, different categories. So it will have a section for kitchen, where you're gonna say you have a full stove. I provide you with other appliances like, let's say, a blender or a waffle maker or a grill, and I provide you with forks and knives and spoons. So once you've provided all the information on your listing, you set your price. Your listing will be up. There are two options for booking. You have instant book, where the person, you set some criteria. For me, the only criteria is that your identity must be verified. Other persons will say, I only want persons who are verified and who have stayed at Airbnbs before and who have 5-star ratings. I'm not going to do all of that, because I was once new to Airbnb. I had no reviews and persons took a chance with me and I was new, and I gather they weren't disappointed because the reviews have been good. So I'm not gonna say I only want persons who've used Airbnb before in terms of guests who have been reviewed by hosts and have good reviews. I'm gonna take my chances, because like I told you, your things are insured. If somebody comes who trashes your property, destroys your things, just make sure you record it, you have the evidence, provide the evidence to Airbnb, you submit a claim, you get back your stuff. Actually, to me, safer than doing a long-term rental, because if you do have somebody renting your property and they trash it, I don't know, I guess you have to go to the court to get back your stuff. I don't have that experience, but I feel like it's gonna be a longer, more complicated process. So I have said that the only criteria is that their identity is verified. And I believe now Airbnb has made it mandatory where you have to submit a copy of your ID and they must verify your identity to get your booking confirmed. So regardless, they'll have to have that on the site, their ID. You don't see their ID, but Airbnb does let you know that their identity has been verified, and a picture is shown if they've uploaded a picture. Once you meet that criterion, you can go ahead and book for me. And with Instant Book, if they meet the criteria, you're just gonna get an email to say, congratulations, so and so and so have booked your Airbnb for X amount of nights, and this is what you are gonna earn. So you're not required to do much after that. I personally, to add a nice touch, once I get that confirmation email, I send them back an email to say thank you for booking with us, looking forward to seeing you. All the details you need for checking in will be sent prior to your arrival. If you need anything else, or if you have any specialty requirements, feel free to reach out and let me know. So those kind of things help with making them feel a little more comfortable with their booking, and it makes their experience a little better. It makes their reviews a little better as well. So that's something that you want to bear in mind. The other option is not to do Instant Book, where every guest that's booking must send you an email for you to review them before approving it. No, if you are somebody who accepts walk-in bookings for your property as well as Airbnb bookings, I would say you use this option, because you don't want a case where somebody books, let's say, for today in the morning and you already promised it to another walk-in guest that came. You're gonna have issues. So I strictly go through Airbnb because of the protection it provides and the fact that I'm not on property, so I can't monitor what is happening. But if you're on property, so it's easier for you to manage, so you want to take that risk where you allow walk-ins to book, then I would say don't use Instant Book. Use the option where each person sends you an email and you have to approve their reservation before it is confirmed. So after getting listed and getting approval, the next thing you do is wait for a guest to make a reservation. Now with Airbnb, once a guest makes a reservation, you will get an email, the email address you use to sign up, and you'll also get a text message. Most times you get both. So it's a platform that is really easy to work with, because they do what is necessary to keep you posted. You won't be required to log in every day to check to see if a reservation was made. So ensure that you sign up with a number and an email address that you have linked to your phone, so that once you're on the road, those notifications will come in.
Point to note, this is a criterion for becoming a superhost. Airbnb will judge you based on how fast it is that you respond to inquiries from the guests, and they prefer if you respond within an hour.
And what you'll be required to respond to is, some guests will have inquiries before booking. So they'll probably ask, what's the proximity of your house to so and so? Does your house have this? Because I didn't see it on the listing, and they just want to be clear on certain things. So it's important that you have the ability to keep in touch and to respond quickly. They will push your property when you are one of those persons who responds quickly. The guests are reaching out to you, and they're not getting a response until days later. Your property is not one of those that they're gonna be pushing to the top. So they have their own algorithm, just like Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. And their algorithm looks on your response time to determine whether or not this is a property that we want to be pushing up there. Now, I want you to bear in mind, for example, where my property is in St. Catherine, there are 900 other properties there. So the further up you are on the, let's call it the discovery page, and for the purpose of this video, the discovery page is that will pop up with all the listed properties that will fit the criteria that the guests will put in when they're searching. So let's say they put in homes in St. Catherine, Spanish Town, or homes in St. Catherine, Portmore, and then a list of properties will come up. Remember when doing it, and I went on Airbnb to do some research to see how many properties are in the area. I was like, damn, that's a lot of properties. Should I even be doing this? I'm going to be competing with so many other persons. My listing will probably not do well. Thank God for Jesus, I did not let that stop me. I decided to go forward with it anyways. I was like, you already have this property, you already started to furnish it, what are you going to do with it? You have a mortgage to pay, and this is going to be your main source of income, so nothing tried, nothing done. Saying that to say, you want to do what is necessary to have your property stand out, and the response time is going to be one of those. The amenities you offer can also help your property to stand out amongst the crowd. So let's say you're one of those whose property has parking, that's very important to persons, or if you have a washer dryer that can help your property to stand out. It's not a necessity, because I don't offer washer dryers in my personal Airbnb, but my Airbnb stands out nonetheless. It's on the first page of properties that pops up when you type in properties in St. Catherine. So how long after listing your property can you expect to start booking? My experience was right after listing my property, within a week, I started getting inquiries. I had set it up so it wasn't instant book when I just listed it, because it didn't have everything that was needed at the time. I was still working on it, but I figured that I wouldn't be getting any bookings anytime soon, so I would just list the property so people can familiarize themselves with it and take note of the fact that it is there in case they plan on taking a trip while I work on it. So for that reason, I set it up so that it wasn't instant book. To my surprise, within a few days, persons started reaching out, and they were reaching out to say that, you know what, they wanted to come tomorrow, or they wanted to come in 2 days. And I was like, oh damn, snap, I was not expecting this. And things like my air conditioning, I hadn't got that in yet, my hot water, I hadn't got that in yet. I was working on that. So when I realized that, oh, this thing is real, you know, my bookings are coming in, I turned off the listing as being active, and just focused on getting the stuff in, because I didn't want people to be reaching out to me and for me to be constantly telling them, oh, the listing is not ready, oh, the listing is not ready. I figured that that's something that Airbnb would probably, you know, kind of blacklist me for. When I say blacklist, I mean they wouldn't push my property up there, because obviously I'm not accepting reservation. I just turned it off, got my electricity in, got my hot water in, got most of my furniture in. I started without some of the stuff, and much to my surprise, those persons were still very, very pleased. They gave me all 5-star ratings when I just started. The only reason it probably got like 2 4-star ratings when everybody else has been 5 stars. And when I turned it back on, it was pretty much complete, and within 2 weeks I was hosting my first guest. So I would say if within the first 2 weeks you're not getting any clicks, because remember, as a new property, they do push your property out there when it's new. They do offer that discount, and that does attract people. If after 2 weeks you're not getting any clicks, any requests, any inquiries, I would say you don't need to look back at the pictures you uploaded, because I've seen some pictures where I know for a fact nobody is going to jump at it, because it's not attractive. It's it looks like somewhere you don't want to stay. You understand me? So you need to look back at your pictures, or you need to look back at your price, because regardless of the fact that there's so many Airbnbs out there are so many persons coming to Jamaica, and unlike in America where they have Super 8 and the La Quinta and those little hotels, the Vinots that are a dime a dozen, and people have a lot of options between hotels and Airbnbs. We don't have that here in Jamaica a lot. Most of the hotels are either the business type hotels in Kingston that are expensive, but that's where most business persons stay, or we have all inclusives which are in Mabay and Grill and Oterea. So if you have an Airbnb in those areas, you'll definitely be competing a lot with those hotels. But for the corporate areas like Kingston, when it comes to people who are coming to visit their families, 90% of those persons are going to be looking to stay at an Airbnb. The same thing with St. Catherine. So many persons have families in St. Catherine you would not believe, and when we come back to Jamaica, the houses that their family have are not big enough to hold them, or they've got to America, they're a little more bougie and their family's properties are a little run down. That's just what I've observed. So they'd much rather stay at an Airbnb close by and then go visit their family. They come for so many different reasons, and they come at so many different times. So even though somebody maybe only books for half the month, they are booked during that time that somebody else is coming, and their dates don't coincide with that person's date. So you, with your empty calendar, is attracting that person because you're free to facilitate their booking whenever they want. So a lot of persons will get bookings every month. It may not be 100%, but they still get. So I'm going to segue into what you can expect in terms of occupancy. So I covered like when you can expect to get your booking. In terms of occupancy rates, and earlier, depending on the time of the year. For me personally, it's been good, like really good, I guess, because of my price point and what I offer for that price point, and that was deliberate. I'd say for my worst month thus far was May, and I had like a 75% occupancy rate for me. My best month was June, and I had like a 98% occupancy. I have to do the math correctly, but I had like probably 2 empty days in June. I could have had a higher occupancy rate for me, but I turned down or declined bookings from some guests because they were asking me for some things that seemed sketchy, and that's something that you are in your right to do. But if you do it, I think Airbnb allows to decline bookings like 3 times. More than that, they'll start to blacklist you, and by blacklisting, as I said earlier, your listing is not going to be one of those that appear in the first page or 2 when people are searching for properties, and you really want your listing to be up there, because if you've ever searched for a hotel or something similar, you can agree that going through hundreds of pages is a bit daunting, and by the time you get to the 3rd page, you just want to book the best one you see thus far. So it's important to try and stay in your good books that have your listing all the way up there. Therefore, choose wisely when you do decline. And I guess I had booked and I would have pretty much been full for me, but it is what it is. I can't make because of the money I could potentially earn from this reservation. I end up losing so much more from the additional water they're gonna use, or the damages that they're gonna cause. So you have to think about those things, and you have to be smart about it. And they are required to follow your rules. That's another section of the sign-up process that they're gonna ask you to complete, is to put in your rules. So if you say I don't want smoking in my house, which I highly recommend, because smoking leaves an awful scent, so you don't want that. So you can't set that rule. And if you come and you find evidence of them smoking, you can't charge them extra because they're gonna have to do extra cleaning, and Airbnb will honor that charge because you had it in your rules. So you want to also bear in mind what rules you wanna set for your place. Some places they will have rules where you cannot have any visitors. I don't have that for my place, but I do indicate that if you have over 2 guests and you have visitors that are sleeping over, you're gonna have to pay extra for them, because obviously they're gonna start using the light, using the water, and I have charged you for only 2 persons because my per night fee covers up to 2. So any additional over that, you're gonna have to pay. So after getting your Airbnb listed, getting it approved, getting your reservations coming in, having your first guest come in and come out, what you can expect after hosting your first guest is that you will need to do an assessment of your place, because you are required to do a review on the guest. Airbnb thrives off of reviews, so it's important that you put in your review. And the guests normally, from what I see, is normally after you've done a review that a guest does theirs. So you are gonna need the reviews more than they will, because you want to have those nice reviews that attract persons to your property. So you don't want to not do their reviews and then they not do yours in turn, and then you don't have any reviews for persons to go off. So what's important is that once a guest checks out, you go in, you do your assessment, and then you review them. It's gonna give you the different categories for you to review them and for you to mark them out of 5. Now, if a guest leaves the floor dirty, like they haven't mopped, they haven't swept it, I'm not too hard on them because I do charge a cleaning fee. That's what it's for. You have some persons who will mark guests down because they didn't take care of the garbage, they didn't spread the bed, they didn't clean the bathroom. Listen, you can't be charging a cleaning fee and expecting people to do that. So all I expect is that you not damage my stuff, and that the things are not dirty to a point where they cannot be cleaned. For example, let's say I have my mattress. I don't want to see a big stain in that mattress. That's gonna be a markdown for me because I probably can't get that stain out, and that becomes a problem for me hosting future guests. But once the place is in good condition and you have followed my rules, I don't have an issue giving my guests a good review. And from what I'm seeing, they've done the same. I'm sure my listing is not perfect, but I have persons who would much rather send a private message about a recommendation that they have instead of putting it out there on Airbnb, and they still give 5 stars because, as far as they're concerned, their stay was almost perfect, and whatever issues they have did not warrant their marking me down. So that's something that you have to bear in mind. And this is where managing your Airbnb comes into play. Now, Airbnb can be passive income in that you can set it up and just have it running without you having to be involved. But in order to do that, you're gonna need a property manager, because if you offer things like toiletries, bath wash, shampoo, conditioners, those things will need to be replenished. If, let's say, you have this table and it's broken, somebody's gonna have to replace it. So you can get a property manager, which is what I've branched off into because I had so much success with Airbnb. And through doing that, I learned that there are persons overseas who are interested in setting up Airbnbs because Airbnbs are such a big thing in Jamaica now. But without physically being here to manage it, and they don't have any family members close by who can manage it, it becomes a problem. That's where I come in. So I arrange for the cleaners to come and go, do an assessment after to make sure it has been cleaned well, and to make sure all your things are still here when the guest checks out, because some persons have had situations where their things have been stolen. You want to report it right away because you only have a small window within which to report damages or theft and to submit your claims. Now, obviously, you can do this for yourself. I do it for myself because I've made this into my core business and branched off into several other related areas. And like I said, I'm going to do another video where I'm going to get into all the synergies and related businesses that you can have spinning off from operating on Airbnb. It can be passive income where you can buy a property, you can leave it, you pay your property manager a percentage, they will give you your report monthly on how much needs to be spent to fix what, and you can actually set up on Airbnb where they're paid their percentages directly without you having to get involved in the monthly calculations and the monthly payments, or you can decide to do it yourself if you want to. Now, outside of that, what can you expect to earn? I'm going to show you a little synopsis of what I earned when I just started, like shortly after doing my listing, based on the price I had offered at that time, bearing in mind that the discount was also up and running at that time.
So this is what I earned for March. I took the screenshot after my last guest checked in because they went over into April. So this was after the payment was sent over for that guest that booked for that last week of March. But bear in mind that they also stayed a part of April, but this would have taken into consideration those earnings from those days in April. So that's one way to look at it. And this was with, I guess, like a 78% occupancy, bearing in mind that I had discounts running for that month as well, because that's when my first set of bookings started. Another thing I want you guys to take into consideration is the fact that guests will book very last minute, including the day of arrival. Look at this one here in this screenshot who booked for 11 days and booked the morning of their arrival. I guess because they have a lot of options, they aren't in any rush to book. I'm saying this to say don't feel daunted by the fact that your calendar isn't filled for months on end. That is not going to happen. I guess only very cheap places will see that happening, but for the most part, most persons are getting their bookings very last minute, so their calendars are not filled for a lot of days in the future. It's normally happening right as the guests are arriving.
So that was my experience, and it's been really good. Every month thereafter, I've had over 70% occupancy. Clients have had similar luck as well in terms of getting bookings really early after having their listings put up and having high occupancy during the peak season. Outside of the peak season, though, I'd say their occupancy rate was around about 50% or lower for some periods. So if you are running an Airbnb, you have to bear in mind that every month is not going to be an overflow or abundance. You need to be able to budget accordingly. It's always good to look at what your spend was when you had the most dates booked. That will give you an idea of what your electricity will be, what your water usage will be, what you're gonna spend on replenishing stock, replenishing cleaning products, as well as your mortgage, if you have to pay a mortgage, because that's one of the expenses that I factor in, or rent. So it's something that you really have to consider when doing your pricing, and after you've established what your expenses are, then you can really say, okay, so for a month that I'm probably do 50% or less, this is what I'll need in terms of paying for the light, paying for the water. And when you're working out how much you need to run your business, do it with, let's say, like for me, a worst case scenario of 75% occupancy. So I worked out, if I have a 75% occupancy rate, this is what my light will be, my water, things like your cable and internet will be a fixed cost. Netflix payment will be a fixed cost. Your mortgage or your rent will be a fixed cost regardless of how much you get in reservation. So you have to bear that in mind. So for me, I worked it out so that based on my nightly rate, for a 75% occupancy, I'm still making a profit. Everything over that is gravy. No, I think based on how I've done it below 50%, I'm probably breaking even, but it depends on how they book. Now, why I say this is how Airbnb is set up, it allows you to give discount for longer stays, which you want to do because once again, it helps for them to promote your property. So if somebody comes and books the entire month, that's great for you because you've only had one guest to worry about for that entire month. You've only had to replenish stock once, because I don't do stock replenishment of, let's say, shower gel, etc. while you're there. Everything you get is complimentary. So you only have to worry about that once, but this is going to be a 1 month booking that is discounted. No. For me, if I have 5 different persons filling up my calendar for the month, it means that these persons will probably be paying full price, so it's not discounted. They'll be paying for cleaning for each of their stays, and like I said, for the short cleanings, I take care of those myself, so that money goes in my pocket. If I have a month where several persons are booking and they fill out the month, it actually works out better than having one person book. But ideally, for somebody who is paying a clean, they prefer to have one person book for the entire month. It's less stress for them. You don't have any control over that, and they're just going to take out the discounts. That's what you have control over. But you don't have any control over how long somebody books. They may book where it leaves some odd dates on your calendar, like Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays, where a lot of persons don't checking on that date, because I find that a lot of persons traveling prefer to travel on the weekend so they can make use of the weekend without having to touch their vacation leaves, and then they stay throughout the week and they'll probably leave like on a Monday, but we'll have the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. Those are hard dates to book, so it's something you have to consider as well. The next thing is you have to pay attention to that same thing where you have those in-between dates that are not booked. I would recommend that when you have those odd bookings and then you have the in-between dates that are not booked, you go in and you drop the prices just for those days, because it will probably compel persons to book more who are local, because I do have bookings from locals when the prices are low, who would probably not have booked before if it was higher. And since there are dates that probably won't attract persons from overseas, then it's good that you at least get it booked once it's not going to be putting you in a lost position for that day. It will still be income that can contribute to how much you're earning for the month. I think for the most part, we've covered everything you need to know in terms of setting up your Airbnb. If there's anything else I forgot, because I feel like this video is I feel like this video is getting a little bit too long. So if there's anything else I've forgotten that you want information on, please reach out and let me know. Leave it in the comments. I'll respond directly. Or if it's something that will require a lot of information, I will probably make another video on it. But for now, I feel like I've covered everything and you should have an idea of how to get your Airbnb up and running. So thank you once again for stopping by and watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and like and comment and share, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!